Welcome, welcome. This is Gull, money mindset expert. And today we have the pleasure and the honor of speaking to the beautiful, the wonderful, the amazing Deborah Peters. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you for having me from across the pond. I love it.
Thank you so much for being our guest. Yes, we are literally across the pond, aren't we? A bit of a large pond, but it is a pond. Well, we just heard how amazing you are, Deborah. But in your own words, please tell everybody what it is that you do.
I'm a business coach and a mindset expert. I've been working with companies and helping them scale now for a couple decades. So any small to mid-size organization. I've done a lot of work in different countries, 17 of them so far. Wow. So I have this unique blend of neuroscience with business strategy that enables companies to really go above and beyond anything that they could imagine.
Wonderful, amazing. And that actually explains why you are such a phenomenal coach and you have so many achievements under your belt. So Deborah, I know how amazing you are, and the people have heard how all the achievements you've had over the last couple of decades, as you put it. But how did you all get started? What's your journey? Where did it all begin for you? Obviously, you don't wake up one day and decide I'm going to be a business coach and a mindset coach. Right. And those are professions I didn't even know existed when I was a baby or when I was growing up. So how did it all start from you? And what's your journey been like?
Well, it's been a labor of love, let's call it that, because I've been writing and I'm turning this into a book. So the timing for us to have this conversation is impeccable. I feel like people, especially, when I was trying to figure myself out and figure out my income, I'm not going to call it a career. It's just like, where did I want to put my talent and my gifts that would generate money so I could live the way I want to live? That was essentially always kind of percolating in the back of my mind. So going through the process of figuring that out meant that I had to heal my past, which was no small adventure, believe me. I grew up on a farm, which was probably my saving grace, because being with animals and being outdoors and being able to just run wild and free in the countryside without, worry about something happening to me or somebody stealing me, things we worry about our children today didn't exist for me. But the hard part was being in a family that was abusive and critical of each other, obviously themselves, that's where it all starts. And I had an alcoholic father that died when I was 7. I was molested when I was a little girl, and then I buried that. So this is what's fascinating as I'm writing this book. It's really okay, this was my experience. Here's the tool to get past whatever that does to your psyche. I internalized so much to the point where I didn't even realize I was doing it. Like I became this, I don't know how to describe it, but like whatever would come at me, I could just take it on, to my own detriment, because I was unconscious of myself doing it. But it was a coping mechanism. It was a survival process. I had a child when I was 15 and became a single mom. And I just kept, 15. Yeah.
Wow.
It's hard to imagine now. I look back on it and I go, I have no idea how I went to high school and changed diapers and did feedings.
You went to high school as well at the same time while you had the baby? Did you have any support?
No. It was one of those situations where I think I really rocked my mother's world beyond what she could handle. My dad died years before. My sister was pregnant at 16 and married to an abusive alcoholic. Like there's these patterns, right?
Yeah.
You can see the patterns. It's not that we were I think a lot of people, there's stigmas in society where people look at families and go, they're just losers, they're just weak, they'll never become anything. And it's
Yeah.
so not true. Life happens.
Yeah.
We have these experiences, then we develop a perception of ourselves, and that perception gets projected into the next life experience and the next one, until we start to make these patterns predominant in our thinking, our feeling, our emotions, our experiences, our relationships. So I was in that, but yet there was something in me, and I call it God. Like, there was something in me that said, you are not this. You are so much more. And I just kept listening to that and taking one step at a time forward.
I want to know, how did you cope? And how did you manage studying and diapers and baby and especially stigma attached as well? I mean, this is must be about 30 years back. So the stigma, I think things have moved on a lot more now, whereas
For sure.
that kind of aspect, you probably get a lot more support now as well. Even from your home, you probably have external support. There are organizations and charities available to support young women who are in that situation now, and you have other options and so forth. But that time, it's just it's I know as a woman that there would be so many other issues that you have to balance out, plus the attitude, plus the attitude at school as well. Other people's other children's attitude towards you. How did you cope? What went through your mind, and how did you keep yourself sane?
I asked myself that very question.
You were just a superwoman, weren't you? Just a super-minded superwoman.
Yeah, I was just a warrior. I was just a warrior. And there was something about that, let's say, challenge, that I just said, it's not a challenge. This is a choice I've made, and I'm going to crush this. I'm going to knock this out of the park. Yeah. So I went to college too. I went to college, and had my own string of abusive boyfriends that I had to work that through for me, and find the biggest hurdle was finding my self-worth.
Yes.
And it didn't really truly, like, the authentic, deep in your heart self-worth stuff didn't really percolate to the surface until like maybe 10 years ago. So I think I was probably doing the as if strategy, just act as if, and don't let anybody see you sweat. Just like, hunker down, make it happen, put a smile on your face,
toughen up.
Toughen up, and that's what I think I'm learning as I'm writing this out, how I internalized so much. And I think that's what a lot of people do. People do one of two things, right? They either internalize it and they deny the pain of it, or they externalize it and they act out and they do destructive things. Yeah. So,
I mean, there's a third option. They could actually do inner healing, but many people choose not to do that.
Well, it's scary. It's scary to look at that stuff. I mean, the reason I became a coach was I was in this course and I said to myself, hey, if I can evolve me past poverty and the statistic of being what a single mother at 15 with no support system should turn into, coming from an abusive background, if I can evolve me beyond that, I can help a lot of people, because I figured I was a pretty significant case study.
Of course, surely. So how does a girl who becomes a single parent, a single mother at 15, you know, who actually somehow has the courage to go not only complete her education but go off to college. But how does she go from that insecure, scarcity mindset young woman turn into this warrior woman who achieves all the accolades that you received and all the things that you have received over the last, especially the last few years? How does one go from that child, that woman who's like a victim, who is stuck in the victim mentality because you're attracting abusive relationships even at college, to this warrior, self-assured, confident woman? That sounds like a huge journey, and it's something that when I'm looking at it at the moment, I'm in awe of, like, wow, what a journey, what a transformation. How did you work on your mind? And I know you said you use the as if strategy, but how did you cope through the low moments and the self-doubts and the imposter syndrome, which must have popped its head, multiple times? How did you keep, again, the question is, how did you keep sane? How did you stay above water? How did you keep that momentum going and carry on going, and not just, because you must have fallen multiple times. Yeah. How did you get up, brush yourself off, and carry on walking?
When you put it in those terms, like, and you paint that picture, I'm like, whoa, because I don't think about that much. I just am.
You just did it.
Yeah, I just did it. And I'm always in creation mode. So I'm always creating. And I suppose there's the answer. I was always creating. The thing is that it's a moment by moment process. And I tried to, believe me, I tried leapfrogging past stuff. There's no shortcut to consciousness.
No, there isn't. I'm so glad you said that. There isn't. You have to go through it. You have to process through your emotions, through your traumas, through your hardships. Embrace the weaknesses in you, your own shortcomings, so to speak. And you just have to carry on with all of that, because that's the human side of you, and you just have to accept it.
Yeah, it's true. And I believe, in fact, I know from working with so many clients for so long, that each of us has within us like an internal guidance system, like an inner being, the God force, a spark in our heart that is always there for us. And all we have to do is talk to it and ask it for help. And I think that was always my saving grace, because as I look back on it now, I put myself in a lot of compromising situations because I didn't know any better. And therein lies the rub, we don't know what we don't know.
Yep.
So to answer your question, getting through it and getting, like, constantly finding a way to raise myself up above the fray was always just 1 second after another. The quantum leaps didn't come until after I started gaining some bandwidth on, like, when I say bandwidth, like self-awareness, like a sense of self. One of the pivotal moments for me was I was having an argument with one of my sisters. And I was the youngest in the family, and I was like 10 years younger than my sisters. So I was sort of like the sacrificial lamb, if you will, for everything that went on in our family, from the abuse my mom went through from my dad, my dad dying, and everybody being the emotional wrecks, and just the constant dysfunction that played out with the criticism and the emotional abandonment. I mean, how can a parent support a child emotionally if they can't support themselves?
Yeah. Right. Agreed.
So,
yes.
Right. So there's all of that. And yet inside me, I just could always hear and feel this voice saying, you're moving past this. Just keep going. Keep going. And it gave me some sense of solace, some sense of, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to land on my feet. And I used to say that to myself all the time. You're going through this hardship right now, but you're going to land on your feet. You know, this is a tough situation, but you're going to land on your feet. And it was almost like alchemy, where I would literally go from being like maybe being evicted from my house because I couldn't pay, and having to find a new place for me and my daughter to live, which happened a lot because I would recreate the pattern. But then I would land on my feet. And because I would say that to myself, you know, there's something better coming. I really believe it was my relationship with God, because there's no other way of explaining it.
I love that. I love that. And actually, from the spiritual point of view, from manifestation point of view, you were manifesting both things. So you were manifesting the hardships, of course, and you actually talked about them as well. You're going through hardships at the moment, which means you're going to agree to again, but you're going to land on your feet too. And that's exactly what happened. So you got exactly what you said. So it became, always. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
That's what it ended up being. And this is, and I want people to take note of that. Because, I mean, people have different situations. Of course, they will have different scenarios in their life. But there are many situations where they are also repeating something to themselves, an affirmation, or without knowing, by the way, because you didn't know you were saying this.
Exactly.
But they were, that too can become their self-fulfilling prophecy. And this is the problem with victim mentality, because people think things are always bad, things always happen to me, things always go wrong for me. And guess what? Things always go wrong for you. And so this is why I think it's very important to become aware of what you're saying to yourself, your inner dialogue. I think your inner dialogue is more important than your external dialogue to other people.
For sure.
Whether you're saying it out loud or under your breath, it doesn't really matter. But your conversation with yourself, I think, is 10 times more important than the conversation you have with anybody else, any external person, because that is when you're creating your reality. And this is what you found. And so tell me, when did you become aware of the fact that you were creating all this chaos in your life?
So there was a book that was given to me by a friend, and it was Louise Hay's first book, You Can Heal Your Life. I left it sitting on my nightstand for a week. I didn't even crack the book. And she said to me, "So how are you liking the book?" And I was like, I haven't read it. She goes, "Well, then you have to give it back to me." And I was like, whoa, that was a whoa moment. And so I returned it to her. And about 6 months later, I had this epiphany that I was creating through my thoughts. It just came to me one day, which is how our inner guidance system works, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It just came to me one day that I was creating all of this chaos so I could be the champion and rescue myself. And life didn't have to be that way, because it was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
The highs were high, the lows were low.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it was hard on my daughter. It was hard, definitely. You know, I'm sure we've had many conversations about this, and she, you know, was like, what's going on here? Why we keep doing this? So I went out and I actually bought the book and I started reading it. And it actually triggered a healing crisis in my body. So as I started detoxing the trauma, the shock to my nervous system from all the experiences I'd had before I started doing them to myself, you know, within the family unit. And then what I'd been doing to myself, I mean, I gained probably 40 pounds, maybe more.
Wow.
I couldn't get off my sofa. I slept for 2 years, I think, pretty much. I'd get up in the morning, take my daughter to school, go home, sleep, and get up at the end of the day and go pick her up from school. And that's all I could do. That was the max. Yeah.
Because I mean, that may surprise certain people, but because I'm feeling into your energy and looking at the severity of the trauma, it doesn't surprise me, because there's so much emotion that had been pushed underground that when
Yeah,
it had an outlet, it just came out when the floodgates were open.
I know. I didn't know what was going on with me because
Mm,
pre that, I owned a gym. So, that's the other side of the story. Coming out of college, I only had like 2 jobs, maybe 3. 2 banks. I worked at 2 banks for 6 months each. I hated it.
mm,
Sorry to the banking industry, but
mm.
um, for my creativity, like that is not the place to be.
No.
And then I worked for a contractor, that built high rises. That was a lot of fun. But I just needed to really do my own thing. So
Mm,
I bought a fitness club and developed it. And coming off the heels of that, and then going through that healing crisis and having my body blowed up, I felt so out of control, so lost and so confused about what is happening to me, but then that was fuel to figure it out. So
mm,
then I started really looking at the relationship between thought, emotion, and my nervous system and my gut health and my brain function. And it's just been fascinating. Like it just keeps unfolding.
wow. So once you overcame that, so after the 2 years, what happened then? Then what brought you back to the land of the living?
I started to receive more energy through my body.
Mm,
There was more communication. I think as I was purging that trauma and the shock that I'd experienced, because a lot of, there was this one experience where my brother-in-law was beating my sister and held a gun to her head.
oh, wow.
And I had to decide what to do. Do I run to the neighbors? Do I stay? Like, if I leave, will he kill her? If I stay, will he kill us both? I was
Mm.
10, right? I was
Oh,
10,
wow. This is when you're 10.
10.
Wow.
So that kind of like impact on your nervous system, I needed a minute to be able to purge that. But after a while, it was like a light started coming through again,
Mm,
And so I think it's worth saying to anybody that's going through any sort of reboot in your life or self reinvention,
mm,
just like be really gentle with yourself, because I wasn't, because I was
mm,
so hard on myself. It's like, why am I not more energetic? Why am I not more clear-minded? But when you're detoxing from a past that is traumatic, your body just, it's like when you have the flu or a cold and then it starts to exit the body, and that's when you get the runny nose and the headache and the sore throat, it's on its way out. So
mm,
that was the biggest thing I learned. And what happened is I had this light bulb moment reading Louise Hay's book, that there's a whole other way of thinking.
mm.
There's a whole other way of talking to myself. There's a whole other way of feeling about me and life. And it just was like a ray of sunshine that there was a different reality, a different paradigm that I could connect to.
Wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
For sure, for sure. And it's difficult for people, and this is why I love doing these Friday features. It's difficult for people to look at you now and see how successful you are and the kind of companies you work with and the kind of difference you make in the companies and the income and the bottom number. For a woman to be so powerful and so in tune with her intuition and is guiding other people in these amazing companies, was once a lost soul herself, who was trying to find her inner self, let alone be on inner journey. She was trying to find her inner self. And it's this is why I think conversations like these are important, to allow other people to know, doesn't matter where you are on your journey, tomorrow is a new day. You can wake up and start fresh. And not just, it's become a cliche, but to actually really embody that and understand truly it's a new day and it's full of choices, and you get to choose what it is that you're going to focus on, be it, your inner self, be it your, healing your inner self, or actually taking the first step to healing yourself by maybe getting a book by Louise Hay, or if it's something to do with money, they can get my book, Laws of Money, or, something else of, I think one of the books that I would definitely recommend would be, Wallace D. Waddell's Science of Getting Rich. All these books, I love these books because I think these books are great. They talk about abundance, but in order for you to get abundance, you have to heal yourself. And any kind of abundance in any area of your life, be it, finances, relationships, health, you have to do inner healing. And this is so important. But I mean, it's been a fascinating listening to you, and wow, what a journey that you've had over these years, and what a transformation. So thank you so much for sharing with us, Deborah. It's been really insightful. Tell us, what are your parting thoughts, and what would be your recommendation to someone listening to this at the moment?
We are in a massive state of change in terms of the consciousness of humanity.
Agreed.
When I started this journey, I was literally alone. I had no one to reflect with, bounce things off of. Nobody around me could even relate to anything I was going through. And so now we are in a new place, and there's a couple of things, one is just really trust yourself. I just had a conversation with a client today, trust the process and love yourself, because when you practice self-love, the insecurities drop, the self-worth builds. Take a few minutes each day to appreciate your life. I go on little walks. I take breaks between clients. I go on little walks, and it's simple things like appreciating the chirping of a bird, the breeze on your skin. Even if it's raining, get outside and thank God for the rain, for what it does for the plants and how it washes the streets. I don't care. Figure it out. Like, find a way to appreciate the intangible things, the small things, the things that cost nothing, to just walk outdoors and appreciate the sun. And then ask yourself higher level questions. So learn to ask instead of saying, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get this? Why does this keep happening to me? Those questions will just trigger more answers of the same level of vibration.
Ask a stupid question, get a dumb answer.
Right. Or ask a limiting question and you get a limiting answer. So ask yourself questions like, what else is possible? What haven't I thought of yet? What could I do differently that I haven't considered? And what that does is it inspires you, because the answer is always there. What it does is it inspires you to receive the answer, to receive the guidance. The answer and the guidance is always there. It's just waiting for you to ask that question.
Oh, what a wonderful way to end this segment. So Deborah, tell everybody, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you on the internet?
So my website is neimind.com. It stands for Neuroengineering Institute. So neimind.com. My Instagram is NEI and then the number 4 change. So I'm also on LinkedIn. I have a lot going on LinkedIn. If you're a company owner, you can connect with me there as well.
Wonderful. And all the links that Deborah's just mentioned. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, in the show notes, we will have all of Deborah's links. So you can go and connect with her and check her out there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we will have all her links too. Do check her out. She has an amazing journey, but she's also a phenomenal woman because of it. So do go check her out and connect with her. Well, so thank you so much for being such an amazing guest for us, Deborah. It's been a pleasure and an honor speaking to you. And I've thoroughly enjoyed going through your journey with you and listening to you. And I'm in awe of, what transformation you've had and what you've achieved over your life. But we need to have you back for Money Talkies. We need to have a discussion with you about that so we can pick your brain about certain other things.
Sure.
So please do come back for us. But thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for listening to me and Deborah today on Friday Feature. I will be back with another amazing guest, asking them how they change their life by changing their mindset. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.